Hello everyone, Douglas Waltz, Old Man Comic Book Reviews. We weren't here last week. I don't know why. I totally forgot, which was dumb of me because I have this giant stack of last week to do first. Let's do that first. First up we got from IDW a one-shot, the Godzilla 70th anniversary. This is a big comic book. So let me give you the rundown. We have this many stories. The Half-Century Bore, B-O-R-E, written, drawn, and lettered by James Stokey. Stokey? Okay. Contagion, written by Dan DiDio, drawn by Joel Jones. Of Gods and Con Artist, written by Danny Lore, art by Sebastian Perez. In the Shadow of a God, written and drawn by Matt Frank. In the Darkness, written and drawn by E.J. Su. The Big One, written and drawn by Adam Gorman. Ain't No Place for an Angel, written by Casey Gilly, drawn by Diana Kangas. In Summation, written by Michael W. Conrad, art by Zhizhe Shaw. Aftermath, written and drawn by Natasha Alterici. And there are a lot of comic books in this thing. My favorite thing about it is the cleanup crew at the beginning, the Half-Century Bore, because it just starts off with an all-out fight of Godzilla and Hedorah. No, I'm not going to run down all of these stories for you. Yes, it's a lot of fun. All of it's new for the 70th anniversary, and every artist and writer does a fantastic job. All kinds of art styles, all kinds of bizarre, but most importantly, it's Godzilla. Godzilla. You know how you go from that really great comic book to your next comic book? This is a one-shot called Doom, about Dr. Doom. Dr. Doom is one of my favorite characters. And let me get a thing that gives us the suspects, as it were. Alright, we're just going to go page by page. Sorry, everybody. Here we are. Sanford Green and Jonathan Hickman are the art, the plot, and the script. That's them. It's at some weird time frame, and the little girl from the Fantastic Four who knows Dr. Doom saves him because he went up against Galactus. This is dumb. The artwork's not great. Got that scratchy 90s, late 90s image look to it. It's not. It's supposed to be Dr. Doom. I guess it's Dr. Doom in the purest sense of the word. It's Dr. Doom. And they don't end it. It doesn't really end, which is interesting. So this was $7.99. Marvel, I'd like my money back. All right, Blue Beetle number 9. We have, when last we left, Pinnacle was a robot that Ted Kord's, I want to say, sister did it. Here we go. It's in the back. Josh Trujillo is our writer. Adrian Gutierrez is our artist. And yeah, the artwork is great. Ted Kord comes back. We like that. But in the meantime, it's just, I don't know. This Blue Beetle comic book has not been growing on me. They had a couple issues I liked, but that was about it. The final issue of Dark Ride 12. It's over, folks. These comic books with the obnoxiously thick covers. Joshua Williamson is our creator-writer. Andre Bresson is our creator-artist. And it's the end. We find out the summation of all the plans that were supposed to happen in the Dark Ride, and it's all right. The ending is odd. What they've decided to do with it is odd. That's the only thing I can think of. It was an interesting idea for a comic book. Basically, if Walt Disney was trying to scare everyone to death as opposed to, making everybody happy. Miles Morales, Spider-Man, number 20. Cody Ziegler is our writer. Federico Vicentini is our artist. And last issue he introduced Shift, his giant wonky clone, to the rest of the Morales family. So now Shift and Miles and the little sister are going to go out and have an adventure. So Shift can figure out what it's like to be a person. And, you know, there's fights and stuff too. That always happens. But this was a nice little break from all the stuff going on. It's kind of nice. But next, Blood Hunt. So, boo. Oh, I don't read that. Second issue of Hercules. Another one of those with the funky cover. Elliot Kalan is our writer. George Cambadeus is our artist. And when last we left Hercules, he met a little stone thing from Athena. Now they're at Hephaestus's forge to go on a quest, and Phil has to help, and it's Hercules. That's all you need to know. It's just more Hercules. It's a good book. Godzilla versus the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, Volume 2, Number 2, as we did in a series last time, which I adored. Story by Cullen Bunn, art by Baldemar Rivas. Don't like the artwork because the artwork was so good in the first one that the second thing is not doing it for me. But it is giving you exactly what you're looking for in the face of it with Godzilla. And then we have the Psycho Rangers. They have an upgrade. There's a Psycho Ranger Gigan, so I thought that was kind of neat. But after the first series being so good, it kind of sucked that this one isn't as well rendered. There we go. That's a nice way of saying it. Green Lantern number 11. Empire of Blood. Oh, yeah. Here we are. Writer Jeremy Adams. Artist Zermanico and Amankei Nahilpan. I probably did terrible with that. So it's a lot of that whole Green Lanterns not getting along and fighting each other. That's the big thing that's going on. We do get a really big backstory of Hal when he was a young man. Sort of a pain in the butt. No real surprise there. And I don't know. It's, yeah. And there's a backup story called House of Brainiac. Maybe? Is that what it's called? I don't know. But there's a Hal, nope. Guy Gardner is bringing in Lobo. Writer's Jeremy Adams, artist is Kevin Maguire. And yes, it looks just like Kevin Maguire, so that means it looks awesome. And it's silly. Reminds me of the old Justice League. Gargoyle's Quest. Yep, they canceled the one, but they brought us another one. Number 2. We have... Writer is Greg Weisman. Artist is Pasquale Qualano. And we have people who came on the boat from Avalon. For those of you who who watched the cartoon series, the second season, which was very long, had them on a boat for a very long time. So, just seeing that, it was like, I don't know. So, yep, it's Gargoyles. You like Gargoyles? You should just read this because it's Gargoyles. And Damona's up to no good. No surprise there. We're going to peel the cover off of this one. They had to bag it because it's Gun Honey. Gun Honey uses her form for distractionary purposes. Figures if you're staring at the naked, you don't see the gun. This is a brand new series. Collision Course number 1. Charles Ardai is our writer. Ang Hor King is our artist. And Gun Honey is, surprise, surprise, being hired to get guns someplace. Like she always goes to get guns someplace. And to help out an old friend at the same time. It's a great comic book. The art is awesome. Yes, she's naked a lot. Yes, she's fighting with a gun and naked a lot. And the interesting thing for me is they had to hitch a ride on a boat, and it was her and her friend. And the captain says, the deal was you work for your passage, but there's all kinds of work. You don't have to bust your ass looking for it if you don't want. And she says, oh yeah, what'd you have in mind? And the captain says, some of the boys haven't been on shore for months. They got needs like any man, a new pretty face. She says, forget it. I'll lug the freight. The captain says, no disrespect, miss. I wasn't asking you. She was asking his boyfriend. And she's like, he goes, I'm considering it. Because apparently it's hard work on the ship. I thought that was funny. Plus, it's gun honey. Gun honey's always good. So let's put these back in their last week bag of shame. We will hide them away. Maybe. Maybe not. Hold on. You get to watch the struggle. The paper bag struggle. Only comic book nerds know of the paper bag struggle. Alright. Here we go. Ugh. Oh, well, just no particular order. There was a series a while back called Punk Mambo, and this time around they made it a book. The whole story, one issue. Writer is Peter Milligan, who is awesome. Artist is Andres Ponce, and Punk Mambo is a voodoo priestess. And she starts hearing punk rock out in the swamps, and it draws her to London, where there's some stupid punkers trying to summon something unnatural. That's a really good way of putting it. This was great. I'm glad they put it all in just one thing instead of chopping it up. I don't remember it being terribly expensive. $12.99 plus with my 20% discount at Fanfare Comics and Cards. I didn't pay that much for it. But, yep, good stuff. Punk Mambo, they could bring her back as a regular or just do those. I'd take one of those every year if that's all I can get. John Constantine, Hellblazer, Dead in America, number 5. This was strange because first we have an old man in the desert looking, trying to bury his daughter who passed away, bury her umbilical cord. It's a ritual thing. And there's a harpia, or harpy, has stolen it. And the only way he can see it is if they gave him the grain of sand that they have from Dream. So, and then a kid's looking for a ride on a bus who may or may not be alive. Then we follow that up with a fella who's gonna make himself famous for finding an actual chupacabra. So what it is, it's a bunch of little stories going across the country. Because the prologue and the epilogue are written by Simon Spurrier and are drawn by Aaron Campbell. The She Nasha is the Indian umbilical cord story. Simon Spurrier wrote that. Kelsey Ramsey drew it. One Way Ticket was the kid who's a ghost, I guess would be a good way of putting it, trying to get a ride home. Aaron Campbell wrote that. Josh Pearson did the art. Suckers is the Chupacabra story. Simon Spurrier wrote that. John McCrae did the artwork for it. So it's like just them, zooming on down the road and different adventures that he has in the space of a short period of time. Oh, here, let's decide where we're going to go here. I want to complain more about that one, so let's do this one. Final issue of Justice League vs. Godzilla vs. Kong. Brian Bucalato is our writer. Christian Duce and Tom Derenick are our artists. And we are fighting monsters. Kong's fighting monsters. Let's just do the highlights. So Superman goes and saves Godzilla from being chained to the ocean floor so he can help beat everybody. Luthor's Mechagodzilla gets its butt handed to us. It says Guy Gardner died, which I'm not sure that's right, but his ring went to King Kong. So King Kong was a Green Lantern, but not a permanent Green Lantern. And they work on getting them all back to their respective dimension. I don't understand why the Bat family is in this, because you're gonna get stepped on. That's about all I got for that. But you're gonna get stepped on. Godzilla kind of shows up at the end, and it's very little Godzilla in a book that's supposed to be Godzilla, but there's a couple good monster fights in it. I'm glad this is over. Marvel did a much better job incorporating Godzilla into their comics back in the 70s than DC has done in this case. Alright, Sensational She-Hulk, number 8. Picture of her and Jack of Hearts, because they've got a thing going on. Rainbow Rowell is our writer. Andreas Genola is our artist. And we left Jen with a fight with Ganymede, who is a character I know absolutely nothing about. She used to hang out with Silver Surfer, and Jack, and her and Jack were a thing. And then Ganymede finds out that She-Hulk's not the bad guy. This other fella is, and she's not taking any guff. So, it's sweet. This is a very sweet issue of this comic book. I like this a lot. So, I don't know why. I know I had to rewrite it, or redo the numbering, because they needed to keep Sensational on there. And then, apparently every Wednesday, Jen has a date with Patsy Walker, Hellcat. But she's not there. She's in outer space. Luckily, Carcass and Ransack from the Eternals are hanging out at Jen's apartment. So, they're going to go get cake. We'll see how that turns out next issue. Because you see, Carcass is the big giant monster, but he's a sweetheart. Ransack is gorgeous, big muscle man, but he's the monster. All caught up? Good. Alright, Amazing Spider-Man number 50. Let's do it. Oh, they're not going to break it down for me, are they? Yes, okay, good. Let's see. So Zeb Wells is our writer. Ed McGuinness is our penciler. There are also other people who have written and done things here. But first we have to deal with the living brain who is telling everyone that Peter Parker is not Spider-Man. The artwork for this is really great, actually. It looks good. Ed McGuinness is bringing his A game. And then something happens where Peter finds out something about Norman Osborn. The thing he finds out about Norman Osborn is not a surprise whatsoever. What they decide to do with it, though, because you know what it is. I won't say what it is, because you know what it is. It's Norman Osborn. So, some of the big panel fights, though, I mean, this will give it away, but it's on the cover, so I guess I could show you the big panel fight there. But then Goblin does something to Peter that I don't like. I'm like, I don't know if this has ever been done before. I don't remember if it has. It just doesn't seem like a really good idea. So I hope that they decide that they think it's a really bad idea and they wrap it up quickly. Because it's not a good idea. And I don't like it. Then we have a Black Cat story with, I swear to God that's Terry Dotson's art, because Black Cat looks like Terry Dotson drew her, so I'm assuming it is. And I'm not going to go back to peek at the credit page anymore. So she's on a crime spree, but she's doing it for a reason, and it's really sweet. And oh, here we go. Here's one that gives us a thing, though. Time to Make the Donuts. The writer is Nikesh Shukla. Chris Cross is our artist, about a guy who makes donuts. These are Spider-Man's favorite donuts. And then he forgets to take his mom her meds. And he's going to have to close down the donut truck and lose money. So Spidey's like, for a free donut, after you'd already eaten one, I'll go take and give your mom your meds. Mom her meds. He goes, you have to stay with her because she'll be nauseous. And he's like, all right. So he tries to save her from a tea kettle because it went off, and she's like, you have to turn it off right away. And she's like, no, you have to let it whistle for a minute. Then she decides to make him a sandwich, and we find out that when the guy that makes the donuts was little, Scorpion almost killed her and her baby, and Spider-Man saved them. They were going to be collateral damage. And then she explains what the importance of food is. So he's like explaining how it's hard to relax, and she asked him, "What were you thinking when you ate my sandwich?" And he said, "Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Time stood still for the length of a sandwich." It's like we were the only people here. Food is a time machine. It makes it so you forget that time period and just focus on the food. So he's going to come back to her house later and learn how to make bread. So that sounded fun. And then the final story is by Lee Gatlin. It's got this funky, weird 70s cartoony art flow to it with the Thing and Spider-Man and Rhino, and it's really fun. Then at the end we have Secrets with Joe Kelly as our writer and Juan Ferreira as our artist. Spidey's being attacked by Nephilim imps. Excuse me. So he goes to see Doctor Strange. And he was offers to help, and he didn't. And then there's a little epilogue at the end with the living brain, and we will see how it goes on with that. So this is a big comic book. My favorite is the one about the sandwich, because it's me. I'm going to talk about a sandwich because that's going to be important. And there's donuts in it. Donuts and sandwich. You know, all I want right now is a donut. And I'm pretty sure we don't have any. So, bleh. So there you go. This is 2 weeks. 1 week was jumbo-sized. This was not so big a deal, but a couple of them were huge, like that Spider-Man and that Punk Mambo, kind of hefty. So, ladies, me and Sophie and Fiona, you did not come over because Memorial Day weekend, and Martha and I decided we were going to go to a comic book convention that we'd never been to before, called Cherry Capital Comic Con in Traverse City. We had a great time. We saw our friend Dirk Manning there. We met lots of interesting people. I did dress up as Kamen Rider. I did have people ask for my picture. I entered the the costume contest, sorry. Pretty sure I lost about 5 pounds of water weight. We ate fantastic food. I do want to thank Dirk Manning for steering us to a thing called the Moomery. The Moomery is a dairy farm that makes ice cream on the spot. So you have cows that give milk, and then you get ice cream. It was the freshest tasting ice cream I think I have ever had. Because ice cream is ice cream, it's good. But there's always that, you know, they got to leave it in the freezer at Walmart or whatever, and you get a little, but it's okay, it's got the flavor, you're happy with it. I got the Cherries Moobly, which was like chocolate cake and chocolate and tart cherries and dark tart cherries, and then cherry flavored ice cream. And it was just all that going on, but it was still at the same time, my favorite word for it is clean. It just, very nice. Good stuff. So, remember to go read a comic book. I tell you every time, you can go to all these places. Library, comic book store, bookstores have comic books. If you want like a bigger comic book and cheap, I got a new issue of the Batman 66 series. So it's a comic book series that takes place from the old Batman TV show from the 60s. And it was, I paid $2.50 for the graphic novel, the collection of the books. So there's lots of places you can get books. You can get them if you want them. I always say I go to Fanfare. If you give them $5 a year, they give you 20% off all new comic books. Can't beat that deal, especially when you're buying, you know, just many comic books. So there's your sermon for the week. Sorry I missed last week. I made up for it with a double-sized issue this week. Woo! So until then, I'll see you next week. Go read a comic book.